Hello everyone, this is Jerry and I'm an adult with autism, and this month being Autism Awareness Month, the so-called autism charity Autism Speaks is everywhere. Commercials, celebrity endorsements, corporate sponsors, a walk for autism, and it all sounds pretty great, but like a lot of these major foundations, there's a huge difference between what they say and what they actually stand for. And I first heard of Autism Speaks a while back. I thought, let's see what they're all about. And I noticed two things about them right away. First, they tend to place an undue amount of focus on research into finding a cure that may or may not be possible, and that individuals with autism may or may not want. Now, we already know what causes autism. We already know, despite Wall Street's efforts to suppress this, vaccines, pollution, certain additives in foods, are large part to blame for the unprecedented amount of people being diagnosed. So it seems like it'd be much more productive to stop forcing people to give their children vaccines, hold the companies accountable for their actions, and try to have programs which have been proven to help people, like early intervention, full inclusion, and more services available for adults with autism. As many of them get out of high school and into the adult world, many of them find themselves stuck and really don't know exactly what to do next and are starting to fall through the cracks, and it's really... Secondly, I noticed that Autism Speaks has a bit of a listening problem. Very few, if any, people on their board or in any position of significance in the organization is an individual with autism, and they have a nasty habit of shutting us out. I guess you could say that they believe in full exclusion. I cannot even find the words to describe exactly how I feel about the completely and utter lack of respect that this shows, that they claim to speak for me and others with autism, yet the opinions of the people they claim to represent don't even matter to them. While there are people with autism who can't speak for themselves in more serious cases, there are many like myself that can, and we don't appreciate being told to sit down and shut up. And then a few years back, they made this one disgraceful commercial called I Am Autism, where it was just all doom and gloom. And I made a video about it, my thoughts on it a few years back. If you want to see it, it's a link in the description of this video, so I'm not going to rehash that too much. But just when I thought they couldn't sink any lower, when I was doing research for the video you're watching right now, I found a documentary called Autism Every they did, which has the same fear-mongering as the I Am Autism commercial, with the mothers talking about how their autistic children will never amount to anything, and even worse than that, it has this one mother who actually said that she contemplated killing herself and her autistic daughter right in front of her. She was right there in the room with her when she said this. I mean, you gotta really see it to believe that.
I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge. It's only because of Lauren, the fact that I have another child, that I probably didn't do it.
I mean, you heard right, ladies and gentlemen. If you have autism, then your life is not worth living. With such a positive, hopeful message, it is no wonder so many people with autism love Autism Speaks. Now, I used to be a lot like the children in that documentary, but I grew and improved because my parents didn't give up on me, and I got the help I needed. It took years of therapies, interventions, and a system of gradual mainstreaming to get to where I am today. Now, but they help people, right? Well, not as many as you think. According to their 2008 tax return, they compensated over 36 employees over $100,000, with their highest paid employee being paid $644,274. But interestingly enough, this employee wasn't on the list of one of the 5 quote, highest compensated employees listed in that form, each of which is listed as making no more than $150,000. Doesn't take a math genius to know that that's pretty fishy. And also, according to the same tax return, they completely cut their yearly grants to people with autism because they supposedly didn't have enough money. And they cut research funding, which is supposedly their main goal, by $17 million, while only cutting employee salaries by $1 million. And they spent $1.7 million of fundraising expenses while only making $142,693 from these fundraisers. With that kind of waste, fraud, and abuse, I think they picked the wrong career and should have considered maybe running for Congress. It sure is nice to have their priorities straight now, isn't it? And of course, there's the whole matter of conflict of interest with the taxes being done by the president of the organization. And while we're on the subject of conflict of interest, in 2011, Autism Speaks hired Pfizer vaccine scientist Robert Ring to be vice president of transitional research. Whatever that's supposed to mean. And they don't take too kindly to criticism either. They have on multiple occasions threatened to sue individuals with autism for actually criticizing them. One such person was a 14-year-old autistic teen for making a parody site of Autism Speaks called NT Speaks, which jokingly advocated interventions for annoying and intolerant non-autistic people. Now, if any of you at Autism Speaks are watching this video, I dare you to try that with me, because if you do, I'll countersue you for fraud. Unless you'd rather just pick on another 14-year-old kid instead. Autism Speaks quite simply is a complete and total scam. The daughter of the CEO of NBC had a child with autism and tried to use her position to help people with autism and their families, but they cynically took advantage of the situation of their own child and grandchild in order to line their own pockets and completely shut her out. And for that reason, they do not speak for me or for anyone else with autism, but for their own greedy ambition to exploit the fears of millions of parents to line their own pockets.